Need to put up a pre-post show jar. $10 in the jar every time somebody says pre-post show live.
Yeah, well, you just did, so put money in the jar.
We're not live.
Yes, we are. I just made us live.
Damn.
Oh, see, you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me.
Welcome
That's
to
not
the
fair.
grease trap, which Paul still insists on calling
It's
a
a
pre-post
two-party
show.
consent state, and you fucking...
I violated
You
your
violated
fucking
me.
Civil Amendment rights, whatever the
Yep.
fuck.
Actually, Louisiana's only a one party.
Oh, cool.
Great. Good
Sorry,
to know.
Paul.
Good to
Sorry,
know.
man.
Yeah, I always record all my conversations with Paul. It's like, so Paul, anything incriminating happened lately?
I don't blame you. Everything that comes out of me is brilliant, so I'm glad somebody's taking it down.
Yeah, this is very true.
Somebody's cataloging my fucking brilliance.
Oh, yeah.
The greatest philosopher that ever walked the fucking earth.
Oh, easily.
Easily.
100%.
I can speak on any number of esoteric subjects contemporaneously, right off the top of my head. No need for fucking any kind of fucking supporting materials.
I think you mean extemporaneously, but okay.
Contemporaneously and extemporaneously, TJ.
Okay.
No, it just worked better as he went on and on.
Yeah, I love it. So, what's up with you lately, Scotty? How you been doing?
So, reading any good books lately, Scotty?
Yeah, you have you?
I don't know how to read. I really wish I could read, TJ. Unfortunately, I don't know how.
Okay.
Never learned how to read.
Never got around to it. I'm so sorry.
I just told you that the greatest philosopher that ever walked the earth is sitting in the room with you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you have no questions.
No.
You have no questions for the Pali Lama.
No, dude.
The Pali Lama is sitting right across from you
All right.
with the answers to any question.
Man, I hate when...
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Only as much as the woodchuck desires to chuck.
Oh, damn, dude.
Oh.
Wisdom
All right.
from the fucking mountain.
All right, let's see if I'll
Makes sense to me.
find up some of the great philosophical questions of our age.
Okay. Fair enough. Going with the easy stuff, I see. Not gonna make me speak on some real deep thoughts. You're gonna make me talk about
All right,
modern
here's
philosophical
140 great philosophical questions. This is just
140
Yeah, this is just to prove that you're the greatest philosopher. I mean, because if this should be remedial
with
to
a
you.
BuzzFeed article.
It's not BuzzFeed.
Oh, whatever. It's the
It's
same thing.
icebreakerideas.com.
Oh, my bad. It's not BuzzFeed. You're right.
Would you kill 10 people to save one?
I would kill myself. That's really the only ethical thing to do in that situation.
Is there such a thing as free will?
No. That's a pretty easy one.
Damn.
How do you know that God exists or doesn't exist?
I don't know for an absolute incontrovertible fact that God doesn't exist, but I see no reason to entertain the idea of God either.
What is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life is to maximize joy and minimize suffering.
Is there such a thing as absolute morality?
No. I just...
Does nature or nurture form a person's personality?
Why are those two terms mutually exclusive? Why can't it be a combination of both nature and nurture?
What is freedom? Is true freedom possible?
No.
Can we know what happiness is without sadness?
Can we know what sadness is without happiness?
Can we understand good without evil?
Can we understand evil without good? I mean, these are stupid questions.
What is the truth?
I could just see like a
Is it the
clutch.
same as reality?
I could just like see a clutch of like fucking soccer minivan driving wine moms sitting around and going, tonight, ladies, for our meeting, we're going to talk about some deep philosophical questions. These are stupid. They're dumbass fucking questions.
This seems like a question for science, but it's here on this list. Do
Okay.
parallel universes exist?
Yeah, that's not a philosophical question.
Let me puzzle that out.
Come on. Get out of here. Get out of here with this.
Better put to a physics professor.
Stupid BuzzFeed article.
It's not a BuzzFeed article.
The deepest philosophical question.
What is it?
Why?
Why? All right.
That's it.
Just why?
Yes.
You know,
I actually have the answer.
No, you don't.
I do.
Nobody has ever had the answer.
I have the answer.
Okay, what's the answer?
Because.
That's a bullshit answer.
No.
It's a dodging.
It's not.
Bullshit answer, TJ.
It's not a bullshit answer. It's the answer.
Dodging the deep philosophical
What do you think
question.
it is, Mr.
I don't know.
Philosopher?
I don't claim to know.
What's the answer to why?
I don't know why, but here we are, so we're doing it anyways.
See, you guys are stupid. I figured this out.
I'm telling you that it is the deepest and most unanswerable philosophical question. And
Why,
it's one
why?
word and it's simple.
Why?
Everybody understands.
I remember Joe Biden asking it.
Why? Why?
I'm so glad he's going to be president. You know,
Why?
well, he's not going to be president. Trump will.
I love how you're just now coming to this realization, dude. A lot of us saw, Biden. Okay, he's the one. It's going to be Biden.
He was just Biden his time.
But he's not going to be president.
Look, TJ, some people just have
Trump's going to be president.
TJ, some people just have prescience in these matters. You know, individuals such as myself.
Yeah.
I mean, months ago,
Bernie
versus Biden.
Months.
I mean, I just want to point out that I'm the creator of that video, TJ.
What
also, Bernie versus Biden.
Oh, yeah.
And as well, Battle of the Bland, TJ.
Battle of the Bland.
I'll make a video about that.
There was no battle, though. They all joined into one.
But in the Battle of the Bland, there can only be one winner. I mean, TJ, look, I'm just saying, I predicted this shit, TJ.
When Biden was the
I'm
blandest.
a fucking genius, TJ. You have to admit right now I'm a genius.
Uh-huh.
How can you not?
Yep, you're a genius, Scotty.
I mean, go look. When did I make that Bernie versus Biden video, TJ? When did I make that video?
I don't know.
When did I make that video, TJ?
I don't know when you made it.
When did I make the video, TJ?
I don't know.
A long-ass time ago.
Long-ass time ago.
I fucking predicted this shit, TJ. How can you say I didn't? How can you say I fucking didn't, TJ?
I didn't say you didn't.
How can you say I didn't?
I didn't.
How can you say I didn't?
I didn't.
How can you say that, TJ?
Shut up. Fucking twat. I said I didn't
This is
say
what
that.
happens when you work with a great philosopher and a genius.
Yeah.
You have to fucking...
I'm sorry, TJ.
The
philosopher and the genius.
What are you, TJ?
You have to suffer, dude.
Greatest philosopher, greatest genius.
I'm just a humble student of the wisdom of Scotty and Paul.
That's the smartest answer that you could have given.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just a humble student.
You are learning.
Grateful to be in the presence of these towering intellects. Yeah, though. Fucking electability. That's the new thing. That's the big issue right now.
It's not even an issue. Look, dude.
It's not an issue. That's true. It's just it's like a bullshit term.
It
but
is.
They've assigned it to Biden, and I'm just like, are the people who are saying he's electable, like, have they like not seen him lately, or is it just like they don't care because they're stupid themselves? I mean, what's the deal with that?
You got close to the answer with your second one there. There are just a tremendous amount of easily led, stupid people in this country who will believe whatever they're told by the people that are in power, and that's exactly what's going on here. None of it matters because they're so unfamiliar with anything about his candidacy other than this is what the guy on the news said. Biden the most electable.
Biden.
There's a tremendous amount of stupid people in this country that are looking for somebody to give them their fucking opinion.
The pro of that is we do probably 90% chance get to see the dementia battle.
The Dementia Olympics.
That is going to be worth it.
Olympics, dude.
I mean, that's going to be awesome. It's going to be like two old men who live right next door to each other arguing from their porches and waving their canes.
It's going to be like, my property line begins up before the shrub. No, it doesn't.
It's going to be like a true successor to The Odd Couple.
But way less coherent.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a total fucking shit show. And, you know, I know it's horrible and bad for the country in every way, but it is pretty hilarious having Trump around. So we get 4 more years of that. And speaking of dementia, we get to see him sink further and further into it, you know, during his presidency.
Do you think he'll get as bad as Biden by the time he's done?
I wouldn't be shocked.
Because
he's on a fucking...
Biden is clearly further along than Trump is at this point.
Trump's no matter how it turns out, he's the youngest person running for president, dude.
Wow.
Think about that.
Dude,
let that bake your fucking noodle for a second.
That's not true. Tulsi Gabbard's still running.
Okay.
credible candidate.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
She's got 2 delegates, bro. Have you seen her 2 delegates?
I don't care if
Have
she's
you
got
seen it?
2
Look,
delegates.
Come into this back room here.
Tom Steyer has like 16.
Yeah, but Tulsi, he ain't in it no more though. Tulsi's still in it, and she got 2 of them. And she showed them to me. She's like, yo, yeah, I was talking to Tulsi, and she's like, yo, you want to see my delegates?
It's not her delegates that I want to see.
Well, that's what she showed me. Showed me in a back room. She flashed her delegates to me. I was like, damn, it's a nice pair of delegates, baby.
Whoa, TJ.
Yeah.
Sound awfully sexist here.
It was very sexist. Dude, I still see people, and I commented on this in a video I shot last night, but I still see people on Twitter, like these Tulsi stands and shit. And they literally, I've seen like several of them start sentences with like, if Tulsi gets the nomination, I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? What world are you fucking living in? If Tulsi gets the nomination, she's not getting the fucking nomination.
Well,
what are you talking? What?
All right, I got a scenario for you.
Okay.
I got one too. I came up with one as well. Let's see if yours is the same.
At the next debate, Bernie and Biden both have a simultaneous heart attack while yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And die right there on the stage.
I thought I had the same scenario, but with coronavirus, where they both die of the coronavirus, and she's the only one left. And then it's like, okay, well, she wins
shit.
by default, I guess.
I have the coronavirus. I'm dying.
Oh no! I'm dead. Oh.
You know, she's playing those odds.
But you know what can
She's
happen?
playing the what if they both drop dead odds.
Under the
That's a strong
under the
path to
DNC
victory.
rules, TJ,
Yeah.
the delegates are only pledged for the first round. First round, no one has a majority. Second round, the super delegates then can step in and pretty much decide who gets it. And everyone just suddenly throws their support behind Tulsi. She's the nominee. She easily defeats Trump and becomes the first female president. There you go.
Wow.
Tulsi. She could still do it.
Still possible.
She could still do it. I mean, like, Galen's a big Tulsi fan. He comes to me, Tulsi, do this, Tulsi. I'm like, that's great. But here's the thing about Tulsi. She has no chance. Like, none. Like, so what are we even talking about here?
Dude,
I don't
Galen
understand.
just wants to bone Tulsi.
I don't
too.
understand the point of this conversation. Like, if we're just talking in general terms about how you like Tulsi Gabbard, I guess that's fine. But if we're talking about her as a presidential contender at this point, like, you're fucking delusional.
I mean, she was never really. I mean, maybe she had a couple times she rose a little bit in prominence. But I think a lot of the Democratic establishment and even people on the left kind of saw her as like she was on Fox News a lot. She was, parodying a lot of conservative points as well. So I think a lot of people were just kind of like, not really for me.
She's been on Tucker Carlson like 80 times.
Yeah, they're like kind of like, nah, not for me.
I mean, I don't necessarily denigrate her for going on
Well, she doesn't challenge. If she went on there and she actually like challenged their assumptions
Right.
and shit, that'd
she
be
was
one
just
thing.
a little too friendly with
But
that.
she
Yes,
goes there.
that's
She goes there and she
that's the
fucking
main
whatever
contention.
narrative they fucking put on her. She's just like, yeah. And it's like, this is a really Republican right wing narrative. Why aren't you pushing back against this at all? And it's obvious because she likes having a friendly relationship there. And I guess that's fine, but I don't know. I'm not super.
That just gives people pause about it, is what I'm saying.
Right. I mean, especially if you're like, you want if you're looking for a progressive candidate. I mean, she does have a lot of progressive policy positions and shit, but
Sure.
the fact that she'll go on Tucker Carlson and just let his narrative go unchallenged, even when it's like fallacious and really right wing and weird, it's kind of off putting to me. But overall, I don't really have too many
there's
substantive
times
complaints about her.
There's times that Tucker's been right,
Oh yeah, I've agreed. I mean,
And
I've
I mean,
agreed with
like-
a few times. I've agreed with Tucker Carlson more than I've ever found myself agreeing with like Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity. Or
Usually where he goes with a lot of his conclusions, though, is where he starts going, I'm like, no. I definitely agree there's a problem about, some of the things, like a lot of PC culture things. But then it's like the conclusions they draw, it's like, or what he extrapolates from it is where I usually differ.
Yeah.
But, whatever. I mean, most of the others, like Fox News, I will say this. I've seen them occasionally challenge Trump on some things. People act like it's like everything with Trump. It's like, but for the majority, of course, the president is doing the right thing.
Oh my God. Remember that time Trump called in and held the entire like morning crew hostage or whatever?
Yeah, for like 45 minutes of
I thought
rambling
about
nothing.
that. I don't even think it's so much dementia with Trump. I think it's part of it, but I think it's also just part of like Trump is like on such a power trip. He knows that they won't hang up on him, so he just go blah blah blah, and he just keep talking. And what are they going to do? They're not going to hang up on the fucking president. So Trump can just take over the show and ramble.
Yeah. So like it's kind of
Giuliani did the same thing too.
At any time, at any moment, President Trump can just take over Fox News. It's kind of great to know.
Yeah.
Like he could just show up, and be like, all right, I'm going to talk for
I'm on every show today.
Trump could just do like, it's Trump Day at Fox News. I'm
Yep.
just going to be here all day talking.
I'm surprised he doesn't, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's kind of, you figure he'd use that power more. But he's too lazy. He wants to watch Fox News. He doesn't want to necessarily be on it all the time. He wants to kind of sit back and let them heap on the praise.
Well, it makes it hard for them to maintain that fucking constant aura of praise if he's just jabbering all day. They're on defense all day. They need sound bites from him where they can pick out something that sounds coherent and play that. You know what I mean? If he's just talking on their network all day, they can't do the job of like fluffing his ass.
Right.
You know?
There's just like, oh shit, it's just unfiltered stream of consciousness.
dude,
Trump.
That's why when you put Trump at a fucking press conference where he has to and he actually answers questions for the press, that's where you get some gold, dude.
Yeah.
There's so many times. I remember Trump banned that dude, Jim Acosta,
Yeah.
because he like said he had some a couple exchanges with Trump, and he's all like, "You're banned." They had to go to like the federal court, and Trump, of course, had to reinstate the privileges. But I mean, dude,
Then he just canceled White House briefings.
Yep.
He was like, "Oh, okay. Well, then none of you get to ask me questions anymore. We just don't do that anymore here. Long-standing tradition of addressing criticism. We don't play that game anymore."
Well, they've shown too that Trump's very selective. Like he'll definitely do it somewhat, but it's just weird. It's almost like he has these random like, I'm gonna go to fucking this pool of reporters and just say a bunch of weird shit about whatever. You know, like water is wet. You know,
They catch him a lot coming off like his planes and shit. Like when he arrives at places, he likes to stop real quick and fucking do a 30-minute stream of consciousness rant.
It's just great, dude.
It's pretty classic.
You know, all these people get so upset about Trump being president, but it's like, dude, I always feel like our country pretty much gets the president we deserve. You know, I'm not one of those people. It's like, you know, we could have something better. It's like, yeah, maybe if people were better informed and thinking more critically. Sure.
Maybe if we didn't have as many stupid people, we'd get something better. But
Oh, I know, dude. That's what I always say to Taylor. I'm like, look,
How do we solve it? How do we get rid of the
get rid of the
stupids?
dumbs. Well, the dumbs are the majority. So
I mean,
What do we got to do?
calling the dumbs.
the answer is education, like from kindergarten through fucking graduate school. That's the answer.
I mean, but you've talked about on the show so many times. It's not even just a matter of just money. You know, like it's not, and that's the way we view it in terms of policy for education. Like, and you've seen that even the people that like, you know, a lot of liberal support. It's like we need to fund education more. It's like I think that's good, but it's how you spend that money. If it's just on more tech bullshit,
I mean, there's a reason why politicians play a lot of lip service to education, but then nothing, it just continues to get worse and worse and worse. It's because, you know, George Carlin fucking nailed it. They don't want critical thinkers coming out of school.
oh, definitely not.
They don't want smart people coming out of school. They don't want people that can think, people that have passions coming out of school. They want, you know, people that can become drones in the fucking
obedient.
corporate state.
Yes, things are good.
Well, we want to teach them how to be spoon-fed everything they're supposed to believe, and we want to keep them there as long as we can so we can continue to spoon-feed them. And that has to stop. I mean, that's 100% what is behind the stupidity of our
Well,
current
also the
political
rise of charter schools is another thing, because I mean, like they basically defund a school district so heavily. They cut all the public funding and they open charter schools, which are privately run, and they say, look, the charter school is so much better. And some charter schools actually are pretty fucking amazing.
No. Charter schools, I got to be honest with you, like Texas has a huge charter school program. Like they have tons of like Target schools and private schools there.
Mm-hmm.
And kids are getting a good fucking education, at least in San Antonio where I got to see it working. Kids are getting a good education in a lot of these fucking private schools.
And but the reality is that there are some exceptional ones, but if you compare them to public schools, the outcomes are not any better. But they've just defunded a lot of public education in order to have these charter schools. So I think the argument a lot of people are making on the issue is that if we just put this money back into public school funding, we wouldn't need the charter schools. And so it's basically like, you know, these companies have lobbied to defund public education. So
What
charter
actually
schools
needs to
be
happen
created in the first place.
What actually needs to happen?
No,
with these
that's
schools,
not saying that no charter schools should exist. I mean, some of them are really good.
Well, what needs to happen in terms of like
For me-
how people are educated?
For me, it's a results-based thing. I don't shit on charter schools because by and large, they're putting out better, more informed, more well-rounded students than public schools are. And it's not just a matter of money. I wish it was. I wish it was just like, oh, if we just, you know, tripled funding for public
according to recent
education.
studies, their outcomes are largely the same.
The problems are systemic in fucking public schools.
Sure.
And it goes far beyond underfunding. Underfunding is a component of it. Yeah, absolutely. But there are just multi-tiered problems in these fucking public schools that are not going to be addressed Money is funneled up towards the top, which
To
is ridiculous. And
administration,
that's
yeah.
you give the public school system more money, and that's just going to continue. You know what I mean? So now instead of your superintendent making $300,000 a year, he's making $1 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
should never happen.
I mean, but that's a fact in a lot of these public schools. The people that are on the board and the high level district office officials are raking in millions of dollars collectively.
That's unconscionable.
Enough money to put 8 or 10 new teachers in every school in the district is just being hoovered up by this giant fucking bureaucracy maw. It didn't used to be that way. There was a time where the superintendent probably made more than your average fucking teacher that just got hired, but not to the extent it is now.
They were living in mansions, or living in fucking McMansions or whatever, fucking, driving $150,000 cars is what you're saying.
And there's also this if you give them money via grants for certain things, there's this idea that they have to spend the money. You know what I mean? Which it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if they're given all this money for technology, it would be there's things they need before that. But they have to spend it on technology, and they have to spend all of it or else they don't get it next year. So money's just flushed down the toilet on stuff that these schools don't need. Well, but they're still 45-1.
Well, how are people at these charter schools? Because obviously they're private run. Are they making a lot of that money?
They make better money on average than public school teachers do. The people that actually teach, they have smaller class sizes, which is a huge component to the type of education your child gets. If you've got a kid and you go to visit that kid's class and there's 40 other kids in that class, your kid is getting a shit education. Well, yeah, period. There's no amount of fucking amazing teaching that can do that. So these charter schools have smaller class sizes on average. Teachers make a little bit more. They have access to better materials and shit. They're not, reading out a fucking shitty ass printout old textbooks and shit like a lot of the schools are.
I'm reading here that charter school teachers actually tend to be paid less.
Oh damn!
It says here that because they're for-profit institutions. They don't,
they don't pay as well.
They pay as little as they can.
They're probably factoring in like healthcare and shit. Teachers,
that's
a
true.
lot of teachers' compensation is through their fucking government healthcare.
I think Paul, and maybe I'm misunderstanding. I think what Paul's looking at is that there's charter schools that do I've seen some featured on the Vice and other things because I actually watched a video about this.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is that was in comparison to private school teachers.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Oh, well, it says
totally
public
different.
school too, but the class size it says. So this is comparing public, private, and charter.
Right.
Okay.
Basically, is what I'm looking at here, and I don't know how reliable this source is, but I'm just looking at some data here. Class size 9 times out of 10. That just seems like that doesn't really seem like a real statistic. That seems like a colloquialism.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
We'll have the smallest, private schools will have the smallest class size.
Well, that makes sense, of course.
Private schools are under no obligation to accept a student and only accept as many as they can teach. Like private schools, charter schools will have smaller class sizes than public schools. But because charter schools are not about exclusivity, they are more likely to have larger classes than private schools. Okay. Students and parents, administrative support. Because charter schools and private schools are privately run, teachers enjoy a greater amount of decision than public school teachers do.
Okay. So
as a public school teacher, you are bound by the school board, the teachers union, and all levels of government. What you teach will more or less be laid out for you from year to year, and it's up to you to mold your style to the standards.
That is a huge issue,
right?
For public schools.
Not every teacher is going to approach, things the same way.
Oh, definitely not.
You can't have a one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, obviously there has to be some sort of standard, but you gotta create a loose enough framework for someone to actually do their job within.
Teaching, I've said this before, is an inherently creative profession. And when you take a person who has their own style of disseminating this information to the kids and their own ideas about the best way to do that, and you hamper that person with overregulation and standardization, you just remove all the magic from the job, which is part of what gets the kids to pay attention.
Right.
Oh, totally.
And is a huge measure between whether a kid had a good fourth grade teacher or a bad one.
Do you think, though, that, obviously different teachers are of varying levels of fucking quality, right?
Of course.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you have a teacher that has the potential to be a really great teacher and you have a teacher who's a really shitty teacher, does the standardization of their curriculum, does that kind of elevate the shitty teacher a little bit because it actually gives them some guidelines and doesn't let them fuck it up?
Of course.
Even if it drags the other one down?
Only if it's equally enforced. And I got to tell you, standardization is a huge problem, but it's not equally enforced. Bad teachers are still bad, even under standardization.
Right.
The reasons that they're bad is not necessarily just because of standardized shit. They keep a dirty ass room. They don't give a fuck about the kids. They spend half their day looking at their phone while the kids do, sustained silent reading or, this kind of self-led shit that's ever more popular because class sizes are so fucking huge. You know what I mean? Those teachers, they still suck. I'd still rather have my kid in a classroom that's standardized with a teacher that knows what they're doing, because they'll know how to push those boundaries. They'll know how to find the little pockets of creativity that they still do have and use that, where a bad teacher is not even going to try to do that. It's literally the most rote
I would say
shit you can think of.
I would say most bad teachers, yeah. It's just, I think the standardization does aid them in the sense that, I remember most of the teachers I had were really bad. Were usually not always, but the teachers that taught basically there's a football coach, but they also have to teach a class,
Right.
And those they weren't necessarily bad. They didn't know it. They did know what they were talking about, but at the same time was just very much by the book kind of thing. Here's the textbook, let's just do this, and that's kind of it never really excited you about the prospect of learning whatever the fuck it was. It was just it stuck to it material so closely. Obviously that it's almost like it's just the generic version of the class. There's no flavor to it.
I didn't have bad teachers. Maybe I had some teachers that weren't as good as some other teachers and shit, but I don't think I ever had a teacher. Well, I guess that's not true. One fucking teacher in high school was a piece of shit. But I mean, for the most 99% of the teachers that I got through my public school career,
I think a lot of it's to
were
do
good
with
teachers.
Geography and shit too. Because I can tell you, I definitely had a lot more shitty teachers here in Louisiana than I did when I lived in Washington.
Well, look at that. Look at the outcomes in the state too with education. Because you have a lot of teachers here.
The
that
teachers I had in Washington were engaged and creative and intelligent,
and didn't care if people went outside the box as much.
And the teachers here just you're gonna have to do your schedule.
This is how it is. Down here it was
yeah.
This is how Paul. Honestly, going to school in Louisiana was basically just these rules is how it is. And if you differed from that, it's nope, you're in trouble. And then they had a bunch of kids. Yeah, and dude, there were so many kids that were just totally disconnected. They I remember in high school, just the classes, you'd have at least 3 or 4 people almost each class. They would show up maybe the first couple of days and never see them again the rest of the school year, or they just fuck up constantly, so they'd get kicked out of the school. And it's yeah, some kids have problems at home and other stuff like that, but I think a lot of the kids too in the classes, from my memory, were just never engaged with a lot of it. Now, we always had the exceptional teacher here or there that was really good, and everyone loved those teachers. And it was always and you always kind of realized why. It's well, they're actually giving a shit about these kids, and they're actually invested in this. Whereas the other teachers are just this is my fucking job, and I hate you little fucking faggots, and I hate you little fucker,
Well,
fuckers.
it's okay. It's only Patreon.
I hate you little fuckers, and I just can't stand you. I had this math teacher, dude, named Miss Rougelot. And that woman just hated humanity, hated all the students, no matter what you did. Just it was just filled with rage. Because I remember one time this kid asked her, it's what does this even matter? It's and she's basically why are we learning this math? Why? I think it was geography, or not geography. It was geometry. And she's just well, what if you want to weld something? He's I don't want to weld anything. And he's what if you wanted to make something? He's I don't want to weld, bitch. And she's get out of my classroom. And people just hated her, and she never made it. And she, I understand in a sense, most of those people probably shouldn't have been there anyways, because they had no idea what the fuck they were talking about, and they don't want to learn math. But at the same time,
I like her name though.
But at the same time, it showed me how much I didn't want to learn the subject just because I hated the teacher. I dreaded going to the class. I didn't want to learn the subject. I ended up getting a C in it when usually I got a B or an A in math because I just fucking hated it. And a lot of other kids just failed. Most of the kids in that class ended up failing it, dude. And it's just she didn't give a shit. And having a teacher like that, it made me realize like how important that is. That if you don't have that, 'cause I had a history teacher the same year that was like really engaged with history, and I really wanted to go to the class, and it just showed you the total difference between those two things.
The bad teacher that I had, what was her fucking name? Mrs. Some with a B. It's been so Mrs. Burton, I think. Yeah, that's what it was. Mrs. Burton. She was an AP English teacher in high school. And the reason she treated me like shit was because her fucking class was not hard for me. Like, I'm not bragging, but I just cakewalked through it.
Right.
Everything she asked me to do was simple for me to do. There was this big, like, looming research paper thing that she was like, you've got 6 months to prepare for this, and we're going to go to the library, and we're going to research it, and blah, 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 blah. I did it the night before it was due. She knew it. You know what I mean? And she treated me like shit. But that was the only time.
How dare you excel?
That was... Well, I didn't really excel. That was the thing. I wasn't writing, like, fucking A++ college-level papers or anything.
You just skirted through.
I was doing enough to get a B in the fucking class. You know what I mean? That's all I wanted. I wasn't shooting for the fucking moon.
Yeah, I gotcha.
She hated it. So fuck her. But
my teachers pretty much universally hated me. So
you never had a teacher that took an interest?
Oh my god, dude. TJ had this fucking
I don't
dude,
know.
tell him about your science teacher, dude.
Mr. Taylor.
I'm sure you've talked about it, but you know.
Yeah, Mr. Taylor.
The dude that said that he looked forward to he looked forward to you being on paying for your welfare.
Yeah, he was like, one day my tax is gonna pay for your welfare.
Well, TJ had like this big. They had like all of TJ's teachers meet with like it was like my mom and TJ, and they had this big thing. And like I'm sure you can just tell it. I mean, you were actually there.
I mean, you had an intervention because you weren't doing well.
He was failing.
Well,
basically.
I was trying to drop out, and my mom's like, let's have a meeting with all your teachers before that. And then I had a meeting, and I fucking told my teachers straight up, I'm like, I hate school. I think all the other students are idiots. I don't like coming here. I don't like any of you. I just think this is pointless. I just fucking really don't like it. And Mr. Taylor, at some point, he stood up and he slammed his hands on the desk. He's like, one day my tax dollars be paying for your trailer. And he stormed out. And I was like, I thought about it, and I wish I would have said it at the time, but I was like, wait a minute. Don't fucking our taxes pay his fucking salary?
Yes.
Correct. The fuck, dude. But no, Louisiana, if I'd have stayed in Washington, I would have probably graduated high school. But I couldn't stand these Louisiana schools. It's just way too draconian. The best time I ever had at school was in Washington State because I had actual like teachers, like it was like Scotty said, like they didn't give a shit if you went outside the box or were a little unconventional or whatever. They still, they like could find a way to include you. But around here, it's like if you don't fit that cookie cutter mold, it's just like you're putting down them boo.
TJ didn't fail
You
anything.
don't even know them boo.
Dude, Paul, from like fourth grade, like it's like fifth grade, sixth grade, TJ got social promotions. So we moved to Washington, and TJ actually fucking ended up passing like 2 years of school, and then came back here and just failed out again.
Yeah, because I was getting straight Fs and just getting socially promoted before that because I wasn't doing any of my work because I was totally disengaged. Went to Washington. I actually started to come out of my shell, get good grades. Not amazing grades, but like, you know, I was actually doing some of the work and like engaging in the activities. I actually had a few classes I was doing really well in. And then moved back to Louisiana. Boom, right back to fucking straight Fs across the board. And it was because I don't do any of the work. And I'll just like, they'll give me a worksheet and I'll just like write gibberish on it and shit. Because I just like, I don't know, I have like a pathological aversion to fucking authority. So,
I mean, I found like a quiz you had for Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I just remember like reading the quiz. It was like, I'm like, you turned this in, TJ? And you're like, yeah. And it was shit like, you know, like pie is good when served with spit. And the teacher would just have like, you'd be like just question marks by every answer. Cause it would just be some nonsense like that. Like you know, the name of my school is fire, or like tweedledee, tweedledee-doo. I love to eat ice cream. What about you? Like it'd just be shit like that.
Just writing just bullshit.
sometimes I would just draw like a big picture on the whole fucking test, just like ignore all the text and answer shit on the screen. I just draw something.
I just can't imagine being your teacher.
And then
like,
give it an F. I'm like, I thought it was a pretty good drawing. It gets an F. Nothing.
Oh yeah, you probably get notes on there like TJ. You did not attempt to answer any of the questions or something.
They stopped. They eventually just stopped even giving me notes and shit. A lot of times I wouldn't even turn shit in. I was in an English class. We were supposed to have like there was some kind of system where we're supposed to have like a folder that we bring, and we're supposed to do this thing at the beginning of every class. I never did it one time. I didn't even get the folder. When other people were doing it, I just
So what would happen with you? Like, obviously you didn't do it. They just so like they come up to you like, TJ, are you going to do this? And you're just like, no.
Yeah. They just be like, you need to do this work. I'm like, I don't actually. That's it.
And they just left you alone eventually, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, like, eventually they just give up on me.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never realized that. I'm like, I didn't realize like how far your shit went. Like, I thought you would just go there and you just did it, but you just half-assed it and
No, a lot of times I wouldn't even do anything.
You would just sit there the entire time.
I would sit in class and I would fill notebooks with like shitty emo poetry and like drawings and shit. And I just like, I'd open up like books and just sit there reading like in class or whatever while they're trying to teach something else.
God damn, no wonder your teachers didn't like you, TJ.
I just totally ignored them.
You're just like, fuck you guys, I'm here. You've got, I'm willing, the bare minimum I guess you were willing to do is you knew you had to attend.
I didn't have anywhere else to go. I wasn't cool enough to have anything else to do to skip school. So I just didn't, I just went to school but didn't participate in any way, shape, or form.
like I wasn't cool enough to be one of the cool kids cutting class, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I had like my parents were enforcers over school.
Oh, shit.
If I didn't get good grades, if I didn't pass a class or something, my life was miserable.
Yeah. See, that's another thing is like you couldn't really punish me because there was nothing I really wanted to do. I was just like,
there was shit you liked they could have taken away from you.
I mean, they did sometimes, but like I was perfectly content to just like sit there. Like I could just sit and think. How could they can't take that away from me? What am I going to do? No more sitting and thinking.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, the person who actually came up with like ways to effectively punish me was when I was in the custody of Uncle Guy for a while. He actually figured me out and knew ways to fucking punish me that were actually effective. It'd be like, TJ, you have to go outside today.
Oh, yeah.
You're not allowed to come back inside.
See, that was used on me, too, though.
Yeah.
I was like,
See, my parents never figured that out. They're always like, go to your room or something.
If I fucked up, I became the gardener for the
Yeah.
house. I was out there mowing the lawn in the middle of fucking summer.
See,
and
they couldn't get me to do shit like that. But you could you could force me out of the house. Like you can't give me chores. I'm just not going to do them. I'm just going to take whatever consequence comes my way. But they weren't willing to go far enough to actually motivate me to do any chores.
dude, I'll tell you what though. You met your match when Uncle Guy.
I just told him about that.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Yeah, he'd just be like, yeah, you got to spend the whole day outside, 8 hours. You can come here for water. That's it. I'll give you water at the door.
Dude, I think whatever
and I'll give you lunch at this time.
Do you remember why? Because we kept missing the fucking bus.
Yeah.
And he's all like, you guys are going to miss the bus again. Dude, you couldn't. Oh, man, I remember that day. TJ walked around. TJ was just so fucking miserable. Like,
It's hot.
he broke you, dude. Uncle Guy fucking broke you that day.
I know.
Because he knew exactly, like, TJ, you have to sit around bored. You just be like, TJ, just go off on a La La Land. What does TJ hate? Physical exertion.
I'll just sit. I just had to sit there. I basically spent most of the day just sitting there in the yard being hot, just waiting for it to be over.
I mean, you walked around a lot, though.
Yeah, that was mostly because of you. I probably would have never left the yard if I would just sat there in the yard for 8 hours straight.
He made us leave the yard.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Like, yeah, because you tried that, and he's all like, no, TJ, you have to leave. And you're like, oh, well. Do you remember we like snuck inside, got some water, and we're like,
Well, no,
please.
he gave us water.
No, but I remember he went to go do something else, too.
Yeah.
So Stevie's babysitter was like, no, he said you can't be in the house until like 4 o'clock. We're like, please. Trying to get it. It's like, nope. Dude. That was like the best time period. That was like the only time TJ because Uncle Guy just knew how to school you every time he tried to pull some bullshit.
Yeah, he always saw through my lies too. That was annoying.
Yeah, that was the best part. Scotty did it. No,
I
he
was
didn't.
I was glad when Mom and Steve were back in charge.
Yeah, the fucking corrupt regime.
The suckers. Okay, thank God.
Who destroyed the side of the house?
Scotty done it.
I just saw Scotty running away with a knife. Which way did he go? That way.
Chase him. Kill him. All right. Thanks for tuning into the Grease Trap. Love you guys. Bye-bye. See you next time.